Greetings all, Ferrariman601 here. Welcome to the live commentary stream for the 2018 German Grand Prix. As a reminder to all of you who are watching, this is a commentary stream only. I will not be showing actual content of the Formula One session in progress. Therefore, I do recommend that you position yourself strategically between the sound of my voice and your preferred source of race consumption, be that a television, live streaming, what have you. Good morning to those of you who have joined us already from the best coast of the United States. We have what should be a cracking race in store for us. Not only do we have a Ferrari in first and third, but we also have two very quick guys down in the backfield in the name of Lewis Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton, he was definitely the story of qualifying yesterday. He could not keep his Mercedes on the road, and those off-track antics definitely contributed to him starting 14th. He had a gearbox failure in Q1. Car became stuck in fourth gear, couldn't get out of it. Thing eventually stopped on track. Even though the Englishman tried to push the car back into the pit lane, it was not enough. Hamilton starts 14th today. The other big name in the backfield, Daniel Ricciardo, starting in P19. He took a strategic power unit penalty. Definitely Red Bull are thinking about Hungary before the summer break, trying to get a good result there. Therefore, Ricciardo taking that engine penalty here in Germany. We'll see if either Hamilton or Ricciardo can fight their way up through the field. We know that Lewis Hamilton can fight up through the field. We saw that 2 weeks ago at Silverstone, punted out to pretty much dead last at turn 1, came back to finish second. So who knows what we could see from Lewis Hamilton or Daniel Ricciardo today. Those of you who are joining us, good morning, everyone. The other big storyline for today's race, it's the pace of the Ferrari relative to the Mercedes. I feel like we've been talking about that storyline all season long, but it is still quite pertinent today. Sebastian Vettel's pole time 0.2 faster than Valtteri Bottas in P2. Sebastian Vettel did a 111.2 and change. Ridiculously fast lap time. Bottas did a 111.4 and change there. So there's your difference in your front row starters. Speaking of our starting grid, it looks a little bit like this. Pole position for car number 5, Sebastian Vettel. P2 for Valtteri Bottas. P3 for Kimi Räikkönen in the second Ferrari. And P4 for Max Verstappen, effectively waving the colors for Red Bull this weekend. P5, Kevin Magnussen in the first of the Haas cars. He's followed immediately in P6 by his teammate Romain Grosjean. P7 for Nico Hülkenberg. P8 for Carlos Sainz. P9 for Charles Leclerc, another Q3 appearance for the young Monegasque, and P10, Sergio Perez in the Force India. P11, Fernando Alonso in the recalcitrant McLaren. P12, Sergei Sirotkin in the Williams. That Williams is pretty high up the field, all things considered. P13 for Marcus Ericsson in the second Sauber. 14th for Lewis Hamilton, as we previously mentioned. P15 for Esteban Ocon in the second Force India. P16, Brendan Hartley in the first of the Toro Rossos. P17, Lance Stroll for Williams. P18, Stoffel Van Dorn in the second McLaren. P19, Daniel Ricciardo for Red Bull, again on the power unit penalty. And P20, and last on the grid today, Pierre Gasly in the second Toro Rosso. Sim Racer Flight Sim 1000 saying, seriously, this isn't the hybrid era in F1, it's the penalty era. I do agree with you 100%. Daniel Ricciardo all the way down there on the grid, not for any fault of his own, it's because the regulations say things about engine changes. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. 8802 Gator betting on a Van Dorn podium. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Fernando Alonso could get this car on the podium, although he certainly has the capabilities to do so. The car is that bad. The Sky Sports World feed just picking up Martin Brundle on his grid walk. Martin Brundle just making his way up and down the grid. He's sprinting frantically, trying to find somebody to talk to. He's down by the Renaults here. Charles Leclerc's caught up with him. Charles Leclerc, once again, talking about his Q3 appearance, starting 9th today. Said we had some brake problems on that Sauber, but they obviously got a handle of it. A little bit worried about track temperatures. He says the track temperatures, although they're cooler than they were in Friday practice, it's still going to be a little bit of a challenge to take care of the rears. We'll see how he gets on. Again, a brilliant 9th place starting position for him. SimRacer Flight Sim 1000 asking, I have been streaming P3D. Yes, I did that last night. We flew an MD-80 up to ridiculous altitude, and we very nearly didn't get it back on 2 occasions, but everything worked out. Brundle now talking with Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen echoing what Charles Leclerc just said about the track temperatures. It's a bit cooler, it'd be better for the tires. So everybody worried about rear tire wear, it would appear. Again, we do have quite a few traction zones around this circuit. Thinking about turn 2 and 3, that little chicane there, obviously coming out of the turn 5 hairpin. And really starting sector 3 as well, that low-speed chicane coming back into the stadium section, rejoining what was the old track here. Taking a look at the weather forecast for Hockenheim, I am showing ambient temperature of 79 degrees. This is, of course, Fahrenheit. Humidity, though, reasonably high. The real feel temperatures there, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Showing clouds and sun. Not sure if we can pick up any sort of radar. Yes, a little bit of radar here from the middle of Germany. There is a little bit of rain in the area, but it's moving away from the general vicinity of the circuit. We'll have to see if there are any scattered showers that are going to come up. It's possible, but officially, no precipitation is forecast for the next 120 minutes. However, all of that can change at the drop of a hat. We are talking about Central Europe in the summertime. Thunderstorms are never something that are that untoward in this part of the world in this time of year. Now, taking a look at what's happening there with the stream, video output a little bit low. Let's see what we can do about that. I think it's frame rates, because nothing really is changing on my screen. Hesitated I. Hello, and also I have to agree with you. I don't know who just sung the national anthem there, but it was atrocious. I don't speak German, but even I know German is not pronounced like that. And I do agree with you, Jonathan. This is going to be a good race. We've got two Ferraris in striking distance for a win today. We've got Bottas in the middle. We've got Lewis Hamilton in 14th. He has got some pretty slow guys in front of him, namely Sirotkin. He should overtake Sirotkin within the first 10 centimeters of the race. So who knows what we could see. And of course, we do have that turn 1, turn 2 run on lap 1. So yeah, we could see some incidents in the mid-pack. Hopefully nothing too substantial. Hopefully nothing that takes out our championship contenders, but we shall see. Detour wants a Ferrari 1-2 for his birthday. Happy birthday. Hesitated I. You bring up a good point there. Why did Lewis not decide to change all of his power unit components starting as far back as he is? Perhaps he's thinking about penalties later on. I mean, if you're already starting that far back, effectively you could get a free engine change. And in theory have all fresh components moving forward. Not sure, of course, how Mercedes are deciding to allocate their resources, but they could be looking at engine penalties. I'm definitely thinking about what's going on with them since Austria, where both cars dropped out with technical problems. I don't know if they've had to change any components since then in terms of going into a new allocation, but we'll see. Max Verstappen there with a brief word for Sky. Basically, long and short of it is, anything is possible. We'll see. Yes, Jonathan, you make a good point there. With the spare car being no longer there, effectively the spare car is still there, it's just in pieces. The teams are bringing what is essentially 3 cars to every race, but they're not allowed to build up the third car unless it's absolutely needed. And they're not allowed to use a different chassis within a 24-hour period, as far as I understand. So, in years gone by, where the teams would have at least one more car all set up and ready to go, typically it'd be set up for the team leader, or some teams would set it up on a coin flip in terms of who would get the spare car. But those days are over. We could have seen Hamilton resume qualifying in the spare car, but nope. That can't happen anymore in the name of cost cutting. Effectively, it doesn't cut any cost at all because the teams are still bringing all the equipment there to build up a third car. They just can't build it up until they absolutely need to. Sim Racer Flight Sim 1000. You want a Ferrari 1-2, but you'd love to see Kimi win instead of Vettel. I echo that sentiment. I don't know if they would allow Kimi to do that, especially at this stage. We're coming into mid-year. All the points, of course, from day one are very critical, as we have seen the Drivers' Championship go down to the final round on a few occasions in recent years, but it definitely would be a very cool thing to see Kimi Räikkönen win another race. I think he can do it this year. Not so sure if it could happen today, but he can do it this year. Of that I am sure. Ted Kravitz making an interesting point there. If you take a close look at the Ferraris on the grid, they have what looks to be a bag of dry ice on top of the T-bar where the onboard cameras are mounted. Ferrari have some sort of electronics mounted in that pod, and it doesn't appear that any other car has that. I don't know if that's just a courtesy that they have played to FOM in terms of the camera electronics, because those of you who have the F1 TV subscription, if you go watch one of the races, one of the 2018 races where you can select the onboard cameras, quite often you see the onboard cameras are quite laggy on both of the Ferraris. You don't see that so much on any of the other cars. I wonder if for some reason the FIA have told Ferrari, cool that camera down so we can get better video. It's possible. Kevin Creighton, I definitely agree with that. The championship is just too close at this point, and there's still too much time remaining. We are, approaching halfway in the season, but we're not quite there yet. And well, the points gap is not all that big at the moment. Looking at the Drivers' Championship, Sebastian Vettel on top with 171, Hamilton in second with 163. Not much in it in terms of the point spread, so it is a little bit early to be gifting wins to Kimi if you're in a position to win it with Seb, but it could definitely happen. The Ferraris have been making great starts this year, so it would not be untoward for Raikkonen to leapfrog Bottas off of the line. Again, that remains to be seen. Will we see Mercedes applying any sort of interesting tactic, shall we say, and attempt to punt one of the Ferraris off with Valtteri Bottas? Maybe. That remains to be seen as well. Sharpie Head, hello. Welcome. Ayrton, good morning. My predictions for this race, there will be 5 lights that come on at the start of the grid. They will go out, and you'll see 20 Formula 1 cars move off at an advanced rate of knots. Hesitated I? No, I did not almost crash any more planes last night. Jonathan Traitman asking a question. Do you think Hamilton had the hydraulics failure before turn 1, or did it fail because of him leaving the track? Well, there's really no way for us to know. All I know is that once he left the track at turn 1 and he left the ground over the curbing there, that's when the car got stuck in 4th gear. So I'm not going to say that correlation is necessarily the cause, but him bounding off the road a few more times other than that one instance certainly didn't help the gearbox. Coming down to within 5 minutes before the start of the formation lap. Apparently Mercedes said that the hydraulics failed before turn 1. No power steering, and Hamilton made a mistake. Well, I don't know. We'd have to see a telemetry readout from Mercedes, which we're never going to see. Yes, as did I. Schumacher getting stuck in 5th gear in Spain in '94, I believe that was. Still working some intermittent issues with the stream here. Video output low, getting those cautions again. Not quite sure why. That's really never been a problem before. YouTube must be laggy a little bit. Cool facts from Germany, 65% of the Autobahn has no speed limit. Yep, it is legendary. Car guys from all over the world try to get to Germany at least once to drive on the Autobahn. Although I do hear that there are plenty areas where there are pretty significant speed restrictions basically because of congestion. But yep, there are still plenty of places where you can go as fast as you want. There are some pretty stringent rules for driving on the Autobahn though. Like, for example, you can only pass on the left, and your lane changes. You can't just be weaving all over the road and things like that. Kind of makes sense. Coming down to about 3 minutes before the start of the formation lap, the drivers will have gotten into the cars by this point. Mechanics making final preparations. You'll start to see them remove a lot of the cooling equipment from the cars now. You'll also see them remove the tire blankets. Yes, Ayrton, good point. Charles Leclerc is doing exceptionally well. It seems like every weekend he is on form, and even when there's a problem with the car, he's always very positive. He's very complimentary to the team. He seems like he is legitimately happy to be here, and that's a breath of fresh air from these Formula One drivers. A lot of these guys, whether they mean it or not, they do get complacent pretty quickly, and they lose that spark. Sky Sports showing a replay of Lewis Hamilton from yesterday afternoon, bounding off in turn 1, leaving the ground, and there it was. Gearbox casing getting battered, and there it gets stuck in gear. Of course, Hamilton trying to push the car back into the pits, and it just obviously wasn't going to happen. Anyway, inside of 60 seconds to go before the start of the formation lap. The engines are started, the drivers are bolted into the cars, just waiting for the tire blankets to come off. As they do right now, the mechanics will scurry off of the grid behind the white lines to appease the rules makers. Cameras focusing in on Sebastian Vettel starting from pole position here. 2 red lights remaining on the start of the grid. 1 red light now, waiting for the green and waiting for the clock to tick to 10 past the hour. Cameras on the master clock. There's 10 past the hour, and there are the green lights. Formation lap underway here at Hockenheim. Everybody has made it off the grid. Nobody stalled it. All that's well and good. The field just making their way through turn 1. Kimi Räikkönen had his last win at the 2013 Australian Grand Prix, driving for Lotus. On board with Lewis Hamilton in 14th, getting awfully close to Marcus Ericsson there through turn 2. And here's Danny Ricciardo. He's running in P19, obviously. He's behind Stoffel Van Dorn. He's overtaken Stoffel Van Dorn briefly. Alright, Van Dorn retakes his position. That's good. No overtaking allowed on the formation lap, obviously. Renault radio to Carlos Sainz saying there are quite a lot of showers developing around us, but we don't know where anything is yet. I do have to say the sky is overcast quite severely, actually, heading across Sector 2. There are showers all around the circuit. I don't see any substantial weather fronts, but if we do get any rain here, it's going to be one of those stop-start pop-up showers that you often get in this part of the world at this time of year. Right now, things do look fairly menacing in the sky, I must say, as the field makes their way into the stadium section. Looking at Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes pits. Chance of rain, according to FOM, 60%. Front runners now making their way back onto the grid. Vettel and Bottas have made their way to their starting positions. They'll be followed by Raikkonen and Verstappen. Cameras following Lewis Hamilton as he's just getting into his burnout protocol, coming to the grid, starting from 14th. We'll see what he can do off the line. On board with Sebastian Vettel sitting there in P1. He's lined up perfectly symmetrically in his grid slot. We have seen him do some interesting things in the past. Seb obviously not worried about getting the launch. Danny Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly taking their positions. Medical car in position. The green flag is up. Stand by for the lights for the German Grand Prix. 5 lights on. Lights out, and away we go. Looks like a good start by both of the Ferraris. Sebastian Vettel slots in ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Raikkonen behind. Max Verstappen trying to make a move into turn 1. He backs out of it. It is Vettel leading from Bottas, from Raikkonen, from Verstappen as the field steams down into turn 2. Everybody made it through turn 1. Big lockup from Nico Hülkenberg in the Renault. He recovers. And taking a look through the backfield, it does appear that there were no major incidents through turns 1 and 2. Everybody making it down through turn 4, down to the turn 5 hairpin now. Again, Vettel leading from Bottas, from Raikkonen, from Verstappen. Verstappen thinking about going around the outside into the hairpin. Thinks better of it. Big lockup for one of the Force Indias in the backfield. No contact that I could discern. Verstappen challenging Raikkonen. Raikkonen holding it off. Definitely a gap between Bottas and Raikkonen already developing. Verstappen looks very racy, trying to get all over the back of Kimi. We'll see if he can make any sorts of moves happen in the stadium section. I would think not. Basically one line through there. Vettel leads the field into the stadium for the first time under race conditions. Cameras following Verstappen. He seems to have thought better of it. Lewis Hamilton going wheel to wheel with somebody into the stadium section. I couldn't quite identify that car. Timing and scoring showing Lewis Hamilton up into P13 at this time. Now up into P12. He just overtook Esteban Ocon. At the completion of lap 1, it is Sebastian Vettel leading Valtteri Bottas from Kimi Räikkönen, Max Verstappen in 4th, Kevin Magnussen in 5th, Lewis Hamilton charging against Esteban Ocon again for P12. It appears that he has gained that position. Timing and scoring confirms that. Hamilton now has solidified P12, up 2 positions from the grid in 1 lap. Again, we saw Hamilton charge up through the field at Silverstone 2 weeks ago. Can he do something similar here today? We shall see. Again, are there any lingering problems on that Mercedes? Because I do not recall any component changes from yesterday. Marcus Ericsson and Lance Stroll having a fight for position there. That's for P15. The gap at the sharp end of the field. Sebastian Vettel leads Valtteri Bottas by 1.4 seconds already, so Vettel is clear of the DRS attack. DRS will be enabled at the end of this lap. Radio from Raikkonen. Raikkonen reporting there is some rain on the visor. We're working lap 2 at this point. DRS enabled by race control. Timing and scoring is well and truly up and running now. Sebastian Vettel, fastest lap of the race, 1:17.942, 17.013 in Sector 1. Again, Raikkonen reporting rain on the visor. Sector 1 is in sunlight, it would appear, but over Sector 2 there are some dark and low-hanging clouds. On board with Lewis Hamilton in P12. His next target's going to be the McLaren of Fernando Alonso. Checking the onboard camera here of the Mercedes, there does appear to be a little bit of water on it toward the right hand of the picture. Nothing significant. Lewis Hamilton trying to go around the outside of Fernando Alonso through the turn 5 hairpin. Not going to happen that way, Lewis. And, of course, Fernando is going to put up a fight. Hamilton charging against Fernando Alonso, and it appears that he has made that pass happen. Hamilton up into P11. There is rain on the onboard camera of Lewis Hamilton as they head into the stadium section. It appears to be a passing shower, though. It should clear out of here in a couple of minutes. Sebastian Vettel resetting fastest lap, a 1:17.909. Purple in Sector 1, 16.939 on this lap. The gap between he and Valtteri Bottas has grown to 1.9 seconds. The gap to Raikkonen, 3.6 seconds already. On board with Lewis Hamilton in pursuit of Charles Leclerc for P10. Leclerc down one position. Hamilton making an easy move into the hairpin up the inside. Hamilton is now in the points. Watching a replay of the start, pretty much identical getaways from the Mercedes and the Ferrari in positions 1 and 2. A little bit of an accordion effect affecting Raikkonen and Verstappen into turn 1, but both men avoid each other, and they live to fight another day. Field through turn 2, Vettel running a little bit wide off the start, on board with Verstappen off at the line here. This should be interesting. How close did he get to Kimi? He very nearly overtook Kimi into turn 1, but Raikkonen had the outside line, which is going to be a little bit faster off the start. And immediately the Ferrari gaps the Red Bull. Verstappen starts to fight back through turn 2. Raikkonen a little bit of a lockup on the right front heading into turn 2. Interesting tactics from Ferrari, you might say. Or perhaps the tires are just cold. Anyway, replay of Hamilton overtaking Perez. This is on lap 1. And again in replay, Hamilton overtaking Ocon into turn 1, lap 2. Rejoining live pictures now on lap 5 into sector 2. Again, the sky does appear to be gray. If it is raining, though, it's very light. Not seeing any sort of rooster tails or anything coming up from the cars. Still a lot of heat haze coming off of the circuit, so track temperatures are there. The gap, Vettel to Hamilton, P1 to 10, 16.7 seconds at the moment. Working lap 6 of 67. The order unchanged at the front. Vettel leads from Bottas, from Raikkonen, from Verstappen, from Magnussen, your top 5. Hulkenberg into 6th. Grosjean P7, Perez P8. Carlos Sainz P9, and Lewis Hamilton now P10 in the last points paying position. Kimi Räikkönen and Max Verstappen have settled down their fight, definitely playing the long game. Remember, Räikkönen needs to be the rear gunner for Vettel should he be needed. Lewis Hamilton going around Carlos Sainz for P9. He gets the move done. Hamilton into 9th. Charles Leclerc has dropped out of the points. He's now in P11. He'll be in pursuit of Carlos Sainz. Ted Kravitz from the pit lane reporting on Daniel Ricciardo's situation. He's on the medium tires. Ricciardo apparently complaining about grip levels. They're too low. Ricciardo's the only car running on the medium tires at this point. Grosjean on the radio to the Haas pits already complaining about rear tire degradation. He needs more traction. The car's rotating too much. So that Haas for Grosjean a little bit oversteery. And now a little bit understeery, courtesy of a lockup. Grosjean just fell into the clutches of Sergio Perez, and that is the position for the Mexican. Perez now up into P7. On board the nose of Lewis Hamilton in pursuit of Romain Grosjean. This is for P8. We know that Grosjean is struggling with rear grip in that Haas. This should be easy for Hamilton. On board in replay with Grosjean. Big lockup on the right front into turn 3. Actually, no, that is turn 5. And yes, Perez making easy work of that. Hamilton on Grosjean coming down into the hairpin. Hamilton's going to have passed the Haas before they even get to the braking zone, and indeed he has. Hamilton now up into P8. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of the field, it is still Sebastian Vettel leading Valtteri Bottas. That gap is now 3.4 seconds. The gap between Vettel and Hamilton is 21.5 seconds. Hamilton is a full pit stop behind. Valtteri Bottas unable to make any inroads on the Ferrari ahead. Again, that gap is 3.4 seconds. The gap between Bottas and Räikkönen is 1.6 seconds. Hamilton's next target's going to be Perez for P7. He is within DRS range on the Force India, coming down to turn 3. On board with Daniel Ricciardo in P15. Yes, he is visibly struggling with that car. He's having to take a few different bites at the wheel through the turns, especially through the high-speed corners. Car sounds good, though. It's behaving normally. Hamilton on Perez into the turn 5 hairpin up the inside. Easy as you like, just don't run wide on the exit. Hamilton into P7, on board with Ricciardo now. Looks like he's making a move on Marcus Ericsson for P14. And move done. Ricciardo now up into P14. Yes, those low-lying clouds that were over Sector 2 at the start of the race, they appear to have moved off. Again, we're going to get that throughout the day, I think. There just are some spotty showers around the vicinity of the circuit. World feed pretty much following Lewis Hamilton here. It's coming down the back straight now toward turn 5. Hamilton is already up into P7. His next target's going to be Nico Hülkenberg. He's within a second. Meanwhile, Ricciardo overtakes Esteban Ocon for P13. Ricciardo into 13th, but Ocon is not letting him through. Ocon with the draft on Ricciardo, but nope, not online to try and overtake here. Meanwhile, the gap between Vettel and Bottas at the front now grown to 3.8 seconds. Gap between Bottas and Raikkonen is still relatively stable. 1.7 seconds is that gap. German host broadcasters finally picking up the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. He's having a nice leisurely Sunday drive right now. 3.8 seconds ahead of Valtteri Bottas. He is almost entirely by himself in every picture that we see of him. That is how far away the Mercedes is already. Again, Valtteri Bottas showing us that he cannot fight with whoever's in front of him. Lewis Hamilton into the turn 5 hairpin on Nico Hülkenberg. Move done. P6 for Lewis Hamilton. We're about to see Lewis Hamilton hold station for a while in P6. Kevin Magnussen is the next car up the road, but he is about 15 seconds behind him. Jonathan Straitman, yes, I was also quite surprised that Bottas re-signed with Mercedes. I was thinking that they would go after Verstappen or Ricciardo, but Red Bull apparently wanting to keep those guys. Let's see what Lewis Hamilton's pace is going to be. He's in clean air now. He does have about a 15-second gap to Kevin Magnussen ahead. How good is the Mercedes in clean air? We really don't know. Yes, correction. Magnussen is 15 seconds back from Verstappen. Hamilton 1.7 back from Magnussen. Still a little ways to go for Lewis. Riding on board with Fernando Alonso, looking rears. Danny Ricciardo obviously in pursuit of Fernando Alonso. The gap is pretty stable at this point. Looks to be about 0.7 of a second. Alonso with DRS on Leclerc. And Ricciardo obviously with DRS on Fernando. Carlos Sainz taking a look at Romain Grosjean. This is for P9. Sainz in the slipstream. Will we see an overtake attempt? Grosjean goes to defend the inside line, as he is entitled to do. No change of position there, not yet. On board the nose cone of Lewis Hamilton once again, running in P6 in pursuit of Kevin Magnussen. I fully anticipate a move on the Haas down into turn 5. That appears to be Hamilton's preferred overtaking spot today. It's working out well for him. He's fought his way up through the field to a very large extent already. Running in P6, having started 14th. And Hamilton with DRS and party mode on the Mercedes. He has passed Kevin Magnussen before the braking zone. Hamilton now up into P5. Now he has got about 17 seconds of clear air between he and Max Verstappen. Hamilton with a tear-off coming off of his visor. It's time to get down to business. Stand by for some really quick laps from Lewis Hamilton, I do fear. Ferrari with tires. They are soft compound tires, but for whom? Raikkonen in the pits. Raikkonen stops in the box, 4 wheels off, 4 wheels on. Little slow on the rear tires. Did they get that right rear on? I saw the guy come in with the wheel gun for a second bite at the cherry. Did they get Raikkonen's right rear on? Raikkonen gets back onto the racetrack. Just take a look at that car there. All right, everything's good on that pit stop. Just a little bit of an odd move from the tire changer on the right rear. Raikkonen is fine. Kimi Raikkonen now is the next victim for Lewis Hamilton. Raikkonen now 15 seconds adrift of Max Verstappen. Hamilton now within 1.4 seconds of Kimi Raikkonen. Have they decided to put Raikkonen out there to be the rear gunner for Seb to get Hamilton at bay there? All right, here's a replay on the right rear of that Ferrari pit stop. It was a little awkward looking on the right rear of that stop. I did just catch that. I think the wheel is on, no problems. Kimi is back up to speed, but it looked a little weird. Fernando Alonso completely missing turn 5. Losing out to the Sauber of Charles Leclerc there. Alonso in P12. On board with Danny Ricciardo in pursuit of Fernando Alonso. The gap is just over 1 second. And now on board with Ricciardo coming down through Sector 2. I'm seeing clouds start to form again over there. I think we're going to be seeing this all day. Ayrton asking, what would it take for Kimi to win? It would take Vettel, Bottas, and Verstappen to retire from the race. Working lap 17 of 67. Sebastian Vettel is still your race leader, last time by a 118.451. He's followed by Bottas and Verstappen in positions 2 and 3. Kimi Raikkonen in P4 just set fastest lap of the race, 117.591. He is running on the newest tires in the field, soft compound, yellow sidewall Pirellis. Hamilton is 2.9 seconds adrift of Raikkonen. At the front of the field, the gap between Vettel and Bottas has grown now to 4.1 seconds. Apparently no attack from Bottas on the Ferrari. On board with Ricciardo with DRS on Fernando Alonso, heading down toward turn 5. Will Alonso go defensive? He really can't. That is move done for Daniel Ricciardo. Alonso trying to fight back, but horsepower advantage to the Red Bull. That is P12 for Daniel Ricciardo. Fernando Alonso has no answer. Kimi resets fastest lap again, 117.379. Fastest of all in Sector 1, 16.923. Camera's picking up Sebastian Vettel yet again, working lap 18 of 67. Vettel has yet to visit the pits, running on the purple sidewall ultra soft tires. They still look to be in pretty good condition. A little bit of camber wear that we can see there on the inside shoulder of the left front. That's all well within limits. 4.7 seconds is the gap between he and Valtteri Bottas, positions 1 and 2. On board with Vettel, watching his inputs. Car seems very compliant, mostly doing what he wants. A little bit of understeer in that Ferrari right now. Probably down to car setup, probably going a little bit conservative at this point, trying to protect the rear tires as much as possible. Obviously, Ferrari looking to extend this first stint as far as they can. It appears that Ferrari could attempt a one-stop strategy with Raikkonen. That's a big ask for him to get to the end of the race on those tires from the time that he put them on. One-stop strategy with Vettel might be more tenable. Again, we'll see how far he can go into this first stint. His lap times are still reasonable. Meanwhile, off-camera, Nico Hülkenberg visits the pit lane. The SF71H of Sebastian Vettel definitely looks under control. Question from Jonathan Straitman: is Fernando Alonso the only driver to have raced the old Hockenheim layout? That would be Alonso and Raikkonen. And then I believe there's nobody else in the field who has raced at the old Hockenheim. On board with Daniel Ricciardo, thinking about a move on Charles Leclerc for P10 into the hairpin. Was not quite close enough that time by. That's not to say that the move won't happen later on this lap. And there we go. Daniel Ricciardo just sails past Charles Leclerc. Sauber has no answer for the Red Bull, unfortunately. Leclerc now dropped out of the points in P11. Ricciardo in the points in P10. Yeah, the livery that Sauber is running this year, it's pretty simple, but it works. I do like it. I would, of course, like to see more sponsors on not only the Sauber, but on a lot of the cars. But Alfa Romeo definitely injecting a lot of cash into that team, and their car is not that bad. I think Leclerc definitely has something to do with Sauber's performance this year. Ericsson down in P14, Leclerc in P11. It's not a terrible car. They could use some more cash in that team. They're never going to be a front runner, but you know, Leclerc he's putting together some good drives this year. He's consistently challenging for the points. Camera's picking up Lewis Hamilton running in P5. He's 9 seconds adrift of Kimi Raikkonen, I believe. He's 4 seconds adrift of Kimi Raikkonen. Kevin Magnussen in the pits now. Raikkonen 9 seconds adrift of Max Verstappen. Kevin Creighton asking, do I think a spending cap would fix anything? No. It absolutely wouldn't, because the teams who have already made inroads would just maintain, and perhaps the other teams would catch up over the course of a few years, but no, wouldn't change anything. It would just annoy a lot of people. Rumors of Leclerc and Raikkonen doing a seat swap, Ferrari for Sauber. I don't know. I don't quite see it, to be honest. I don't know if Leclerc is quite ready for the Ferrari seat. He's been doing a great job this year, but it's still his first year in Formula One. Do you want to put essentially a rookie driver in a Ferrari? I don't know. Leclerc is very good, but he's still learning the ropes of how this whole extravaganza works. I don't know if Ferrari would want to take that risk so soon. I think he would do a good job in a Ferrari, but again, is he ready? I don't know. He has shown great maturity so far, but Ferrari know what they've got in Vettel and Raikkonen. Raikkonen, maybe at times he lacks the ultimate pace, but he's been very consistent. Leclerc has also been doing a great job this year, but he is still a little bit of an X factor. We just don't have that much of a history on him yet. Grosjean in and out of the pits onto medium tires now. He resumes in P16. Saw Carlos Sainz in the background there just going off at turn 1. Just a little bit wide. He didn't go bounding over the curbs like Hamilton did yesterday. Gap at the front, still pretty consistent between Vettel and Bottas, 4.3 seconds. Max Verstappen 6.5 seconds behind the Mercedes of Bottas. Raikkonen 7.7 seconds down the road. Hamilton 4 seconds behind Raikkonen. And a big gaggle there into the hairpin. Everybody just staying out of each other's way. That is down in P15 through P17, it would appear. No contact that I could discern. Running very closely, though. Almost thought we might see somebody's front wing departing from the front end, but nope, everybody keeps it under control. Perez dives into the pits. Fernando Alonso inherits P7. On board with Nico Hülkenberg in replay. That was... What are we seeing there? That was Marcus Ericsson and Kevin Magnussen getting pretty close to each other, and Nico Hülkenberg, the benefactor of both of those guys. No, that was Ericsson and Ocon getting very close. I beg your pardon. Hülkenberg overtaking both of them. He's now up into P9. And once again, we're seeing the sky getting dark heading into Sector 2. There are lots of position changes going on in the mid-pack there, P12 through P16. Sirotkin up into P12, briefly. Grosjean is going to be coming at him pretty soon, as will be Perez and Stroll. Lance Stroll in P15. He's sort of in the middle of that gaggle there of 5 cars. Something tells me all this could end in tears, especially with the 2 Williams in the mix. They're going to be far slower than everybody around them. In replay on board with Perez in the pit stop, they had a lot of trouble getting that right front on. Everything appears fine, though. Perez has resumed. Pierre Gasly there, taking a look at Charles Leclerc. They are fighting for P17. Brendan Hartley, Pierre Gasly right nose astern behind the Sauber of Leclerc. Leclerc has made a pit stop, that's why he's down into P17. Kimi Räikkönen getting up to it, fastest of all in Sector 1, 16.846. Fastest lap last time by was actually Lewis Hamilton, 17.799, personal best for the Englishman. Cameras picking up in replay a big lockup for Sebastian Vettel in the stadium section. And Vettel in the pits. Race leader is in. Lap 26 coming off of the Ultrasofts, putting the soft tires on. And it appears we've got a good tire change on the Ferrari. Vettel resuming. He's dropped down into P3 for the moment. Now P4, Raikkonen has leapfrogged Vettel. But critically, Sebastian Vettel resumes ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Fastest lap there last time by Kimi Räikkönen, 117.286. Räikkönen doing everything that he needs to do to make the team tactics work. Vettel just bringing these tires up to temperature now. Ocon in the pits meanwhile. He's going to drop right down to the back of the field. That Ferrari pit stop looked quick enough. I think Raikkonen has been a little bit faster than they were expecting. Again, they're just trying to cover off Lewis Hamilton. Having Raikkonen in front of Vettel at this stage, not a problem. I do think Kimi needs to pit again. If that's the case, Ferrari actually planned that pretty well. Is it 2000 again? Obviously, the 2000 German Grand Prix, Rubens Barrichello winning that race for Ferrari. Michael Schumacher was out of that race. On board with Leclerc in replay, this is on Sergei Sirotkin for P14. The Sauber easily overtaking the Williams. On the pit stop rotation, Valtteri Bottas, currently your race leader. Verstappen into second place. Raikkonen is genuinely ahead of Sebastian Vettel right now. The gap between Vettel and Hamilton, 3.1 seconds. Ayrton asking why Williams is so bad this year. Well, Williams is bad this year for the same reason that Williams has been bad since 2006. They just don't have design continuity. They really cannot decide on which direction to go for each year's car, and they just end up being at the back. I remember in 2006, Williams, they had a string of retirements, particularly for Mark Webber, and part of the reason was big lockup for Sebastian Vettel into the hairpin. That's not good. Vettel needs to make these tires work now. That lockup will not be helping him. Anyway, to finish that point on Williams, remember in 2006, they had a string of retirements, particularly with Mark Webber. A big part of the reason was because in the design department at Williams, they had made a decision to go with hydraulic lines that were rigid, they were fixed solid, so they would be cracking and breaking as the car is going over the bumps and just with the vibrations from the engine, and it caused a whole bunch of retirements for Mark Webber. And the reason why they went for those solid lines rather than flexible ones was because the flexible lines were a couple of grams heavier. So rather than save some weight there, as Valtteri Bottas makes a pit stop from P1, Williams decided to go for weight savings rather than make the concession for reliability, and Mark Webber retired from something like 9 races that year. Yellow flag in sectors 2 and 3. That is Daniel Ricciardo pulled off. He is stopped near a fire marshal. What has happened? Ricciardo on the radio just saying, something's wrong, don't know what's wrong. Some smoke coming from the brakes, as we would expect. Nothing else on the car appears to be visibly damaged from the outside. Daniel Ricciardo out of this race. He is our first retirement, believe it or not, working lap 29. Waved yellows in sectors 2 and 3. Ricciardo appears to have stopped on the run down to the stadium section. Max Verstappen, meanwhile, has inherited the race lead. We're waiting for his pit stop. Martin Brundle saying that rain is coming this way. He's doing what I'm doing, just taking a look at his phone, and, well, perhaps we could be seeing some rain. Let me see what the F forecast says. Max Verstappen in the pits from the race lead. Probably anticipating a safety car there, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. Ricciardo's car covered under waved yellows right now. And as I speak, the yellow flags have been subbed down. Green track now in sectors 2 and 3. Taking a look at the forecast for Hockenheim. What does the radar say? Again, there are just scattered showers and small thunderstorms around the vicinity of the racetrack, but nothing immediately there. Again, some cloud cover is going to be coming in, but in terms of rain, it would be very light, if anything. Kimi Räikkönen now genuinely in the race lead. The gap between he and Vettel is 1.4 seconds. Räikkönen sets fastest lap, 1:17.152. Vettel last time by a 1:17.522. Yes, no data right now on what caused Daniel Ricciardo to stop. No obvious sign of a failure from the outside. Valtteri Bottas getting on the program now, 1:16.956, fastest lap of the race, first driver into the 16s today. Kimi right now running in P1 with Seb close behind. I have the feeling that we're going to see Sebastian is faster than you come over the Ferrari radio. The gap between Räikkönen and Vettel holding station now at 1.4 seconds across the line. Working lap 31, now 32 of 67. Here is the case for Ferrari. Räikkönen stopped on lap 14. Vettel stopped on lap 26, 27, something like that. Lap 26, I believe it was. Räikkönen's going to have to stop again. I don't have much of a question about that. His tires are 17 laps old. Vettel's tires are 6 laps old. Seb could conceivably get to the end of the race on these tires as Fernando Alonso locks it up big time heading into the stadium section there. Going off slightly, recovering. I think Räikkönen's going to have to pit again. Fernando Alonso dives into the pits. This is his first stop of the day. Coming off of the soft compound tires. In replay on board with Alonso. Big lockup there on the left front. That's a horrible flat spot, but he'll be getting rid of those tires presently. The McLaren stops. 4 wheels off, 4 wheels on. Another set of the soft compound tires, I do believe. Let's confirm that with time and scoring. No, it's the mediums for Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton now on the pit stop rotation up into P3. He has yet to stop. Hamilton is 3 seconds adrift of Sebastian Vettel. Ferrari radio to Vettel saying rain starting in 10 to 15 minutes. Vettel countering saying my rears are getting quite hot. Well, if we get rain pretty soon, you're going to be on intermediate compound tires anyway. I do have to say the sky looks like it has closed in quite a bit more than it had been about 10 minutes ago. So perhaps Ferrari are not particularly misguided in saying rain in 10 minutes. We'll see. We do need some rain in this championship. That would be cool to see. Fernando Alonso jumping out of the way of Kimi Räikkönen. He's now playing the spoiler to Sebastian Vettel. Alonso will be getting blue flags. Sebastian Vettel will be getting on the radio. Come on, blue flag, blue flag. Alonso very wisely getting out of the way of the Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, working lap 34 of 67. Hamilton is yet to make a stop. He's still running in the high 117s. He's faster than both of the Ferraris. Maurizio Arrivabene came down off of the pit wall into the garage. In the meantime, Sebastian Vettel saying that he's destroying his tires. He wants to swap positions. Räikkönen and Vettel, as far as I can discern, are on different strategies. Räikkönen needs to stop again, as far as I can tell. Meanwhile, super slow motion replays watching Lewis Hamilton. His rear tires are starting to throw a lot of rubber off from the sidewall, from where the sidewall meets up with the tread block. But they still don't look in terribly bad condition, despite being 34 laps old. Big lockup into the hairpin. That was one of the Toro Rossos. Blue flag's going to be up for him. I believe that is for... Who would that be for? Brendan Hartley, perhaps? Pierre Gasly, that must be, with the lockup. Cameras following Stoffel Van Dorn. Is he going slowly? Yes, he is. Stoffel Van Dorn with big problems in P19. No, that is... Yes, that is Van Dorn. That is not Fernando Alonso. Van Dorn going slowly through the hairpin. McLaren in the pit lane. Fernando Alonso still at racing speed. Van Dorn running at the back all day. Alonso as high as P8 at one stage. He's since been shuffled back by the pit stops. Not quite sure what the issue has been this year for Van Dorn, but Alonso is able to do things with that car that Stoffel simply can't do. Sebastian Vettel now within 1 second of Kimi Räikkönen. Vettel radio. Ferrari asking Sebastian, how fast can you go? I couldn't quite make out what Seb said over the radio in response. Basically, he's trying to convince Ferrari to let him get ahead of Räikkönen. The gap has grown to 1.3 seconds again. Blue flags being waved for car 14, that is Fernando Alonso. In replay, the Ferrari's trying to lap Pierre Gasly, just catching him in a bad spot. Gasly jumps off the road, quite literally, to allow Vettel through. Gap now up to 1.5 seconds between Räikkönen and Vettel for P1. Taking a look at Ocon trying to overtake Pierre Gasly. Gasly maintains his P13 at the moment. Taking a look into the stadium section, not anticipating a change in position here. Perhaps down into turn 2. Lewis Hamilton lapping Esteban Ocon meanwhile. Hamilton in P3. Slow motion replay again. Sebastian Vettel locking up into the turn 5 hairpin. More radio. Sebastian Vettel asking the team, can you see the tire temperature? What are you waiting for? I think Ferrari are waiting for rain. It was Ferrari who got on the radio saying rain in 10 minutes. The sky is getting darker. I think they're waiting for rain. If they swap positions now, it could all be negated in about 5 minutes anyway. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton is falling back. The gap between Vettel and Hamilton now 3.8 seconds. Hamilton's tires are 38 laps old. Gap between Räikkönen and Vettel now just over 1 second. Räikkönen radio. That was the radio message from Ferrari to Räikkönen, and Kimi dutifully lets Seb through. There it is, position swap done. Vettel is ahead of Räikkönen. Ferrari trying to be gentle about it on the radio. You know, saying, well, Kimi, both cars need to look after the tires, but you're on slightly different strategies, blah, blah, blah. Kimi just asks, do you want me to let him go? Just tell me. Kimi is not taking offense to any of this. That's actually very good to see. Radar now showing a big rain shower heading straight for the circuit. I don't know about this. It does appear that rain is on the way. We'll see. Unless my eyes were deceiving me, there was a big blob on the radar heading straight for Hockenheim. Let's see if I can pick up anything with my own resources here. Bottas radio. Mercedes to Bottas saying rain in 8 minutes. I'm showing rain in 3 minutes in Hockenheim. Taking a look at the radar, what do we see? Yeah, there is rain all around the area. McLaren on the radio to Alonso saying a shower is on its way. It'll hit turns 1 and 2 first. Again, we'll see how this shakes out. But 3 teams now are convinced that rain is on the way. They've told their drivers about it. Sebastian Vettel doing 1:17.443 last time by. Raikkonen last lap 1:18.219. So Seb is quicker than Kimi. Should it remain dry, Kimi still could have to make one last pit stop. If there were no threat of rain, I'd expect that pit stop to be happening right around now, but everybody gambling on the weather. Working lap 42 of 67, Bottas with a lockup there. Hamilton has just overtaken Bottas. Order now Vettel, Raikkonen, Hamilton in P3, Bottas now into P4, Verstappen remaining P5, Kevin Magnussen is in P5 there. What is the gap? 5.4 seconds back to Bottas. Magnussen is 49 seconds behind. Hamilton in the pits, but what does he do? Hamilton is in the pits. Hamilton onto the ultra soft tires. They do not go for wet compounds. Hamilton rejoins in P5. Magnussen is a long way back, 56 seconds down the road. Hamilton in P5. Bottas back up there in P3. Now at this point, if it rains any more than just a little bit of a drizzle, Hamilton's race is done. Unless something absolutely ridiculous happens. But, well, that's not unprecedented in Germany. Remember the 2007 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, where we had the first lap and then all hell broke loose in terms of rain down at turn 1. Hamilton on the radio, or Mercedes on the radio to Hamilton saying, well, the rain is coming, but it's going to be very light, and you have the best chance on this fresh rubber. We'll see if those are the infamous last words from the Mercedes pit wall. Anyway, of some curiosity for all of us, going to be Hamilton's lap times. He is the highest running car on the Ultrasofts. He's in P5. The other guy on the Ultrasofts, Marcus Ericsson, he's in P14. And it is raining. It is raining at Hockenheim. Fairly heavy rain down at turn 5. Hamilton just went out onto those Ultrasoft slick tires. Was that a good decision or not? Where is the rain going to go next? It is raining here. Visible raindrops at turn 5. That's the hairpin. Sauber getting ready with tires. Those are intermediate, green sidewall, intermediate tires for one of the Sauber. Leclerc is in the pits. All hell is breaking loose in terms of the strategy. Lewis Hamilton, can he make it work on the Ultrasofts? They're up to temperature, but slick tires do not like rain. Leclerc coming out of the pits now onto the intermediates. He's the first guy to blink for inters. Alonso in the pits. Gasly in the pits. We have to assume they're going for wet weather compounds, probably intermediates. Alonso slow into the pit box, but intermediates go on to the McLaren. Intermediates go on to the Toro Rosso of Pierre Gasly as well. Who else is going to blink for tires? It is wet down here at the hairpin. Lewis Hamilton slithering around on those Ultrasoft tires. They've fallen off the cliff. He can't keep the temperature in them. It's not enough. Hamilton, you're on the wrong tires now, boy. On board with Max Verstappen. Big lockup into the hairpin. It's wet down here. He's also on slicks. He's on the medium compound. He's on the soft compound tires, but it is wet down at the hairpin. The slick tires can't do it. They're going to be fine everywhere else. On board with Hamilton slithering around the hairpin as well. It's a tough call. Rain has started to move up the racetrack now into the end of Sector 1. Heavy rain down at the hairpin. This is properly heavy rain now. It is all coming down at the hairpin. Turn 5. It is properly raining down there. These guys are going to have to tiptoe through here. Everybody's going to have to dive into the pits now. It is raining, properly raining down through Sector 2. It doesn't appear to be raining in the stadium section, which is quite interesting. Is it worth the gamble, though? You can't run wet tires on a dry track. It's just not really possible. Even the intermediates, they need to stay cool to stay alive. If they're going to do half of the lap in dry conditions with higher track temperatures, they're going to be just eaten within a couple of laps. What is it like through Sector 1? Still appears to be dry as the cameras pick up Sebastian Vettel. We do have a piece of front wing sitting offline through the final corner. Max Verstappen into the pits. What do? Intermediates for the Red Bull. Verstappen out on intermediates, first of the front runners to blink for wet weather tires. Is this inspired or is this disastrous? We shall see. 20 laps to go. Hamilton running in P4 on the ultra-soft tires. Verstappen P5 on the intermediates. Lap times for Leclerc and Alonso were well off the pace. Leclerc last time by a 130.735. Alonso last time by a 127.445. Compare that to Hamilton last time by a 119.386. Sebastian Vettel, yeah, he lost a section of his front wing there. I didn't see any contact with anybody earlier on. The wing element just fell off. One of the cascade elements from the left front side of Vettel's front wing just fell off there through the final corner. There's lightning in the area as well. I just saw the TV picture break up momentarily. That's indicative of lightning in the area interfering with the transmission. Ferrari radio to Vettel, rain decreasing. Sauber in the pit lane, yellow flag, sector 3. Charles Leclerc back into the pits, onto Ultrasofts. Sauber have blinked back for dry compound tires. Green flags now, sector 3. Pierre Gasly went out on full wets. He went out on extreme wets. What was all that about? That was not the right tire to be on. Pierre Gasly just falling off the road there on those full wets, which would be well overheated. They'd be like driving on bubble gum. It does still appear to be raining down at turn 5. The rain has let up somewhat, but it is still coming down at turn 5. Red Bull in the pits, onto Ultrasofts for Max Verstappen. Vettel, Raikkonen, Bottas, and Hamilton did not pit in this melee. Alonso back into the pits, again presumably to go onto Ultrasofts. Hamilton on Ultrasofts already through all of this. Yellow flag in Sector 1. And it appears to be raining again down in turn 2. Verstappen on Ultrasofts, it's raining again in turn 2. This is crazy. The weather can't make up its mind. Now Verstappen's on the wrong tires again. Yellow flag in Sector 1. I don't see why. Perhaps that's just the red and the red and yellow flag showing a slippery track. We'll see. The weather cannot make up its mind. It's raining now in turn 2. Everybody just got off of the wet weather tires. They're going to need it again. Leclerc spinning through turn 1. Just a quick 360 and resuming it. And he didn't even lose that much time. Look at that rain in turn 1. Look at that rain. They do not need to be on the Ultrasofts right now. Intermediates is the way to go. He who is on the intermediates right now wins the race, if the conditions stay the way they are at this moment. But will they? Raining in Sector 2. Definitely. More of this track is getting wet. We need somebody to gamble on inners. Lewis radio. Lewis saying it's raining harder. Mercedes saying we expect it to last 3 minutes and no more. That means they're staying on those Ultrasofts. Lap times have dropped down for everybody. Vettel last time by 123.376. Hamilton last time by 121.122. He's faster than everybody in front of him, but he's 5.7 seconds adrift of Bottas for P3. Vettel continues to lead this race from Kimi Raikkonen by 5.2 seconds. Williams, or is that a Sauber off? Charles Leclerc off there, coming through turn 4. That's the sweeper down to turn 5. Leclerc now down to P17, officially 2 laps down. He's just dropped it. It's properly raining all through Sector 1 and through most of Sector 2. Kimi Raikkonen having to defend himself from Valtteri Bottas now. It is properly wet here. We're going to see rooster tails before too long. I think these guys are on the wrong tires. They're somehow keeping it together. Raikkonen off the road. Raikkonen off the road. Perez has just spun off. This is now chaos. We need wet weather tires on these cars. It's gone off the cliff. The slicks can't handle these conditions. We need inters at very least. Romain Grosjean going off the road. Raikkonen overtaking Grosjean there, lapping him. Bottas up into P2. Raikkonen fell off the road coming into the stadium section. We need inters on these front-running cars. It's too much. The slicks can't handle it. Come on. Perez just lost it all by himself. No grip. Who is going to blink for inters? Max Verstappen on inters now in P5. Carlos Sainz just dove into the pits. None of the front runners have dove into the pits yet. Vettel, Bottas, Raikkonen, and Hamilton still on dry tires. Hamilton on the ultra softs. Vettel through Raikkonen on the soft compound. It is raining big time in Sector 1. At this point, anybody on the top 5 here, they're all on the lead lap. The top 5 are the only cars on the lead lap. Any one of the top 5 could win this race at this point. Verstappen is 1 minute 8 seconds behind the race leader. I don't know how these guys are managing it on slick tires. Sebastian Vettel has crashed. Sebastian Vettel is out of the race. That appears to be in the stadium section. Dry tires on a wet track. Sebastian Vettel has crashed. Valtteri Bottas in the lead. Safety car deployed. Sebastian Vettel crashed right in front of the grandstand full of Mercedes fans. Now everybody's going to go onto the intermediate tires at very least. Safety car deployed. Bottas is in the pits. Has Raikkonen dove into the pits? No, he has not. Raikkonen stays out. Hamilton stays out. Sebastian Vettel is out of the German Grand Prix. Bottas is on ultra softs. Bottas is on ultra softs just like Hamilton. Bottas did not go onto wet weather tires. Raikkonen stays out on soft tires that are 38 laps old. Replay with Sebastian Vettel. Car just went straight off the road. He had absolutely no say in that. No grip whatsoever. You can't go fast enough in these conditions to keep heat in these slick tires, and once they get just a little bit of water on them, that's it. Sebastian Vettel absolutely furious, punching the steering wheel as he just nerfed the barrier ever so gently. That's it. Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton was going to go into the pit lane, and he thought better of it. He cut out of the pit exit back onto the racetrack. Are the stewards going to have anything to say about that? Behind the safety car, working lap 53 of 67, Kimi Raikkonen is your race leader. Hamilton in second, Bottas in third. There is the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, missing the front wing, being craned away. Ferrari in the pit lane. Raikkonen in the pits, Hamilton is in the race lead. What tires will Raikkonen go on? And pitting now behind the safety car with the field stacked up the way it is, Kimi is going to go straight to the back. Raikkonen on ultra softs. What was that gap between Raikkonen and Verstappen? Verstappen was about 66 seconds behind the race leader before the safety car came out. Raikkonen being shown in P3 at this point. Verstappen still being shown at 73 seconds back. So Raikkonen rejoins in P3. The cars were not stacked up as much as I had thought. Remember, a lot of these guys were a lap down. Sergei Sirotkin has dropped out of the race. Some sort of fire on that Williams. Lots of extinguisher agent being shown wafting its way through the air. It is still raining big time down there at the hairpin. Race leader Lewis Hamilton pulling up alongside the safety car. Is he trying to get the safety car to speed up a little bit? Perhaps he is. He'll have no heat at all in those ultra-soft tires, and in these wet conditions, they're going to have no grip. All of the front runners now, they're risking the same fate as befell Sebastian Vettel. They need heat in these slick tires to get them to work, and running slowly is not going to do that, and going through the puddles is not going to do that. I think everybody is on the wrong tires right now. The first driver onto the wet weather compound is Nico Hülkenberg, who is 124 seconds down on aggregate. He's in P5. Hamilton through Verstappen in positions 1 through 4 on the Ultrasofts. Then we go down to Grosjean in 9th on the intermediates, Sainz in 10th on the intermediates, Magnussen in 11th on the intermediates, Stroll in 13th on the intermediates, and Sirotkin out of the race. He was on intermediates at the time of his retirement. Ferrari lost this race by staying out on those dry weather tires in those conditions. There's no question about it. There's just no way you could keep that car under control on slick tires on a wet track. Ferrari gambled, and it just didn't work. It could happen to anybody out there. It just happened to occur with Sebastian Vettel. Any one of these guys out there on the Ultrasofts right now risks the same fate. Lapped cars are now overtaking. Lance Stroll in the pits. This appears to be a retirement. Double retirement today for Williams. Lewis Hamilton dropping back a bit to allow the lap traffic to overtake. The order is Hamilton, Bottas, Raikkonen, Verstappen, and Hülkenberg in P5. Hülkenberg is the highest placed car on intermediates. Remember, Hamilton could well fall afoul of the stewards here. He was in the pit entrance, and he cut out of it back onto the racetrack, cutting across the grass. We're seeing it in replay. Are there going to be penalties for Hamilton? Radio. Hamilton made that call himself. He decided not to pit. He was staying out on his own. He was not ordered by the team to stay out. He was ordered to pit. The stewards are looking at that, I am sure. FOM would not have shown us a replay like that if they weren't. Working lap 56 of 67 behind the safety car still. No word on when the safety car is coming in. Nico Hülkenberg now on ultra-soft tires. Highest placed car on intermediates is now Carlos Sainz in P8. Grosjean and Magnussen double pit stop for Haas forthcoming. I have to assume they're going to go on the Ultra Softs as well. Hamilton on the radio saying the safety car needs to pick up the pace. The tires are too cold. The safety car probably can't go much faster than this. Both of the Haas cars now on Ultra Softs, Grosjean and Magnussen. It is still actively raining here down the start-finish straight. Hamilton radio again. Hamilton trying his best to gain some tire temperature. Again, he has found himself in the lead of this race behind the safety car. Extraordinary circumstances here. Safety car period ending. That's the word from race control. We're going to have racing here. Working lap 58 of 67. Safety car in this lap. Stand by for an absolutely crazy final 10 laps to this German Grand Prix. How wet is the track? Is the rain actually done at this point, or is it going to come back? It is still actively raining a little bit down start finish. Again, all of our front runners through the top 5 are on Ultra Softs. Perez and Ocon in 6th and 7th on the Softs. Safety car has resumed the pit lane. Green flags are up. We are racing again. The order is Hamilton, Bottas, Raikkonen, Verstappen, and Hülkenberg, your top 5. Lewis Hamilton crosses the stripe to begin lap 58. 10 laps to go. How are the conditions? Conditions through Sector 1 look reasonably dry now. Raikkonen on those fresh Ultra Softs. Hamilton's tires are 15 laps old. Raikkonen's are only 4 laps old. Timing and scoring briefly classifying Bottas ahead of Hamilton. It's stamped itself out. There was no change of position. Bottas now with a draft on Hamilton. Hamilton goes defensive up the inside into the hairpin. How wet is the track through here? Looks reasonably dry. Bottas with better traction out of the hairpin, though. The Mercedes running side by side into the infield section. Bottas challenging Hamilton. He's got the inside line. Hamilton goes defensive. Hamilton has retained first place, but Bottas getting very racy against Hamilton here on this restart. Raikkonen lurking behind there in P3. He is just 0.8 of a second behind Valtteri Bottas. Toto Wolff looks like he's close to tears at this point. Kimi Raikkonen very close to the back of Valtteri Bottas through the stadium section, coming around the final corner onto start-finish again. Raikkonen just 0.7 behind Valtteri Bottas. He's in DRS range. He'll be passing the detection zone. Hamilton, fastest lap of the race, 1:16.596. Carlos Sainz under investigation, overtaking behind the safety car. That's neither here nor there as far as we're concerned for the start of the field here, the finishing of this race. Kimi Raikkonen on Valtteri Bottas. How close is he? He's 0.8 of a second behind at this point. He'll have DRS, unless DRS has not been enabled again. No, it has not been. Under investigation, yes, Carlos Sainz. Graphics confirming that. It is still a little bit wet heading into the infield. There is a dry line, though. Drivers will have to be careful. DRS has been enabled. Kimi, just stay within a second of Bottas. It should be easy pickings down into the hairpin. Hamilton, fastest lap, 1:15.745. We're starting to get into the times we saw yesterday in qualifying. Raikkonen, the gap last time by was 1.1 seconds. He does not have DRS on Bottas this time by. Hamilton is almost a full second a lap clear of everybody else. 1:15.745 last time by. Bottas last time by 1:16.655. Raikkonen last time by 1:16.940. The gap between Bottas and Hamilton is now 2.2 seconds. Hamilton with that tire temperature. The car looks to be good at this point. 7 laps to the end. Working lap 60 of 67. Hamilton up 13 positions to be in the lead of this race within 7 laps to go. That's extraordinary tactical work by Mercedes. And again, that decision to go onto the ultra-soft tires when the rain was starting seemed crazy, but apparently it's worked. On board with Fernando Alonso locking up, heading into the infield. Just a little off and on. No harm done. Carlos Sainz radio saying it's starting to rain again. Where is it starting to rain again, and how much? Still waiting to see that. I'm not seeing any rain falling anywhere around the circuit. I'll believe the guy who's actually down there on the ground, though. Where is the rain, if there is? On board with Hulkenberg heading into the stadium. Seeing a little bit of water on his camera lens. That could well be residual from before, though. Not seeing any rain in this onboard with Hulkenberg. We leave him going down the start-finish straight. The gap between Hamilton and Bottas, 2.9 seconds now. Here's a replay from a couple of laps ago from the restart of Bottas challenging Hamilton. He couldn't quite get close enough. Bottas radio. Radio to Bottas. This is, of course, a couple of laps ago, just telling him to hold position. Ten-second time penalty for Carlos Sainz for overtaking behind the safety car. Confirmed. Working lap 62 of 67. In replay, Ericsson and Ocon getting very close together into the hairpin. Still looks a little slippery down there, but not nearly as bad as it was. Sector 1 and 2 in sunlight now. On-screen graphics just confirming that penalty for Carlos Sainz. 10 seconds will be added to his final race time. 2.5 seconds, the gap between Hamilton and Bottas at the front. Kimi Raikkonen 1.3 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. Working lap 63 of 67. The gap between Hamilton and Bottas has grown to 3.8 seconds. Hamilton resets fastest lap, a 1:15.708. However, it's Kimi Räikkönen who's fastest of all in Sector 1, 16.383. Hamilton last time through Sector 1, 16.524. There is some water on that camera lens on board with Kimi Räikkönen. That's coming out of the hairpin. Again, that seems to be the linchpin to this whole race. That hairpin seems to be where the weather comes in first. On board with Bottas in replay. Yep, a little off and on there, heading into the infield. Not really even an off, just running a little bit wider than normal. Just a little bit slippery. Räikkönen 1.3 seconds behind Bottas. Lots of water on the camera lens here of Carlos Sainz, I believe that is. This is in replay. That was behind the safety car, overtaking behind the safety car. The reason for his penalty. Anyway, 3 laps to go for Lewis Hamilton, who has almost inexplicably found his way in the lead of this race at the end where it really counts. Sebastian Vettel there on the Ferrari pit wall. He's just saying thank you to everybody. Mercedes radio to Bottas saying the rain's going to be heavier coming from turn 2 to turn 6. 3 laps to go. At this point, unless it absolutely buckets down in biblical proportions, there's going to be no effect. The tires are up to temperature now. Just taking a look to see if we can see any raindrops. Hamilton radio. Hamilton radio just saying chance of rain on the last lap. At that point, it doesn't much matter. Pretty strong winds into the stadium section, though. Lewis Hamilton coming through the final corner now to begin lap 67 of 67. 1 lap to go in this German Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton resetting fastest lap there, 1:15.545. Coming down to the hairpin for the final time. That rain that they talked about on the last lap does not appear to have materialized. The gap here, 3.7 seconds. Between Hamilton and Bottas, a further 2.3 seconds down the road is Kimi Räikkönen. Hamilton has half a lap to go. into the stadium section for the last time for Lewis Hamilton. In a race of improbable and completely unpredictable circumstances, starting 14th on the grid, Lewis Hamilton comes across the final corner to take the checkered flag and victory in the 2018 German Grand Prix. That was a result nobody ever anticipated. Valtteri Bottas finishes second. Kimi Räikkönen finishes third in the sole remaining Ferrari. Pole position man Sebastian Vettel out of the race after crashing into the barriers, going off in the rain on slick tires. Lewis Hamilton winning the German Grand Prix, and in so doing retakes the lead in the Drivers' Championship. The points tally now: Hamilton 188 points, Sebastian Vettel 171. I do have to agree, the graphic there for Lewis Hamilton, that is a rather bad choice. They've been using it for the last couple of races now, I've been noticing it. Driver of the day has also gone to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton Radio. What a turn of events for Lewis Hamilton. Yesterday, out of qualifying in Q1, trying to push the car back into the pit lane out of desperation. And today, starting 14th in improbably difficult circumstances. Perhaps it was an inspired move by Hamilton himself not to make that final pit stop to go onto the intermediate tires. Whatever the situation was, he turned P14 on the grid to P1 after the race. Lewis Hamilton, there's a confirmation of your result, winning the German Grand Prix ahead of Valtteri Bottas by 4.5 seconds at the final time. Kimi Räikkönen, still being Mr. Consistent for Ferrari, 6.732 seconds back in P3, and your final podium position. Max Verstappen finishes in P4, Nico Hülkenberg in 5th, Romain Grosjean in 6th, Sergio Perez in 7th, Ocon 8th, Ericsson 9th, scoring some points, P10, Brendan Hartley, and your final points paying position. 11th for Magnussen, 12th for Sainz, 13th for Stoffel Vandoorne, 14th for Pierre Gasly, 15th for Charles Leclerc, and P16, last car classified, Fernando Alonso. Out of this race are Lance Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, Sergei Sirotkin, and Daniel Ricciardo. Sim Racing 604, hello! Lewis Hamilton stops the Mercedes in Parc Fermé. I don't know about any of you, but Lewis Hamilton winning this race was the farthest thing from my mind about an hour and a half ago. But there he is, parking in the P1 spot in Parc Fermé. The Drivers' Championship still very much alive. There's just one race win in it for either man at this point. We have a long way to go in this season. Ferrari definitely had the advantage all weekend, but it was just one moment where the water on the road negated the traction of those soft compound tires for Sebastian Vettel, and it was just enough to send the German sailing out of his home race and handing this victory to Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton climbing the pit wall there and saying hello to all the fans. Whichever way you want to slice it, this was a spectacular race. The weather conditions definitely playing a part in that. If we could have a 10-lap run like this every weekend, it would be fantastic. We had it at Silverstone. We had it today. We need this. David Coulthard with the post-race interviews. Let's hear from our race winner. Lewis Hamilton seemingly unable to believe his good fortune here today. I think history is going to remember that drive. That was something epic. Valtteri giving his typically scripted post-race comments, not saying anything particularly of consequence there. And Kimi, what does this man have to say? Kimi actually being uncharacteristically verbose there in that post-race interview. Podium finishers go to the prep room. Looks like Bottas has already been chilling out for a couple of minutes. And just like that, Mercedes get a 1-2 in their home race. That was not on the cards for today. We got a little bit of everything this time around. What was this race like? It was something unique. We haven't seen something like this in Formula One for a long time. This was sensational. And now, of course, it's raining buckets at Hockenheim. Top three drivers now mounting the podium. They're getting a bit of a shower here, courtesy of Mother Nature. Hamilton making his way out onto the podium. Mercedes, again, scoring a 1-2 on home soil. Can't get much better than that. Stand by for the British and German national anthems. Let me say something. That is the biblical downpour that we needed in the last 10 laps of that race. But it did come just a little bit too late. We did get some great action here today nonetheless. Those trophies are strange, to say the least. I think the trophies for the French Grand Prix still have the award for being the strangest trophies ever awarded. Absolutely insane race. And of course, now everybody is truly soaked. Sort of negates the spraying champagne. Have a look at that. Absolutely crazy, and we get to have all of this again next weekend in Hungary. That's always an interesting race as well. Tends to be a tactical battle. The Hungaroring, much maligned by many people. I actually quite like the circuit. It's very fast, very technical, very compact. A lot of people have nicknamed the Hungaroring Monaco without the houses. It very much is like that. Lots of technical corners there. There's a lot of depth crammed into that relatively short circuit. It's a great place to watch Formula One cars work, and that is where we visit next in just a week's time. Toto Wolff looking somewhat content, but also rather pensive. I mean, this time yesterday they weren't so happy, but there you go. You just finished first and second in your home Grand Prix. In terms of the balance of the championship, well, it's hard to say. Ferrari are very strong. I think Mercedes are still a little bit on their back foot. They got a bit lucky today with the result. They also just made a brilliant strategy call there, and Hamilton himself made a good call at the end of the race there, not going into the pits. We'll see how the balance of the order shakes out moving forward. We'll get our next answer in just a week from Hungary. Sky Sports now showing a replay. Sebastian Vettel going off into the barriers there. Just aquaplaning. Yeah, Sebastian Vettel in tears going off into the barriers there out of the German Grand Prix. He controlled this race pretty much from the start. Just one moment of a little bit too much water on the road, overwhelming those slick tires. Anyway, though, I will leave all of you to digest the post-race storylines for yourselves. We will see you again next weekend for commentary of the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's actually one of my favorite races of the year. Until then, thank you all very much for joining us. Ferrariman601 saying thank you very much, and we will see you soon.